Welcome back, ladies and gents, and of course, thank you so much for watching. We're back on this 89 Softail project. The goal now, we're start to do some of the cleanup on it, and dare I say, maybe sort of a restoration. The goal, of course, is to try to get this bike looking a lot better than it was whenever we got it. I'm not really sure how far we're going to get in this episode or what all we can get done, but let's just jump right in. So for cleaning up, for me, what I like to do is, number one, get comfortable. I don't have a lift, so I just get down here on the ground and get comfortable. And then I just use whatever basic cleaner. So I always use Simple Green. I know a lot of other cleaners will work, but we use this around our house quite a bit, and it's pretty cheap. And then just some cheap rags. This is where my rags usually go to die because I get them all disgusting and gross. This bike actually with the degreasing helped it a ton, so I think this is actually going to help me some. But all we'll do is we'll spray all the surfaces, or at least what I do. I spray all the surfaces for the frame, but just about everything I can get to, and I just wipe it down. Once I get it as clean as I want it, then believe it or not, I'll follow up with doing some polishing on it, and we'll get to that later. Also, fasteners. So for example, we're going to pull these fasteners right now. I'll pull this out. I'll try to explain it. And what I like to do is take these fasteners and clean them separately, and also by removing them. And I don't remove all fasteners, guys. I just remove ones that if they're going to, now I'm having problems removing it. If they're going to show, like for example, these axle adjusters will, I like to try to clean up the bolt heads, polish them up a little bit. But also this one's got rust on it. So I'll take these bolts, if I can get them out of here, and I will throw them in white vinegar. So white vinegar, it will remove rust. I've actually removed, I would say, about 95% of rust off of an old iron head chain one time. So it does work. It's probably not as good as some chemical stuff, but I love it because I'm not smelling chemicals all day. I'm smelling white vinegar. It normally will make the bolt head look a little dark. It'll stain it some, but you can just polish that right up or clean that off. And it'll also, of course, clean the threads up, which I love because then stuff goes back in nice and smooth. And get this one out of here. Go ahead and toss it in there. And then all I'm going to do is just start spraying everything down. Work on one section at a time. As I've said before, cardboard is your friend. Put it down. That way you don't get grease stuff all over everything, because it will happen. We're going to go ahead and remove this guard here again. There, now we can get to all this. Now, this stuff is all hidden, of course, but as you can see, now we can really get to it and make it look a little bit better. And it's, again, not necessary, but when you're going through a bike like this, it really makes a difference. And we'll also just clean this up real quick while we're at it. Now we're just going to spray this all down and start doing some scrubbing. Just keep at it. And boy, we got a lot of wires we got to go through here. I'm really not sure what's going on with all this wiring up here. The cool thing is I don't need much of it, but I don't want to remove anything that I shouldn't. I'm going to have to just sit down here and study it for a while and trace it back, figure out what the heck's going on. Because it is a mystery. Some of this stuff down here is going to be pretty grimy. And we'll do the same over here. Something I noticed too, I don't know if I called it out in a previous video or not, anything like that, but this tab right here broke. That would explain why there was no upper belt guard. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not putting belt guards back on this. You can flame away if you want, but that broke off. I wonder if it happened because of those bags being on there. I am glad that these covers out here on the end of these axles did not mess up this powder coat. There might have been just some, and I assume Harley powder coated these back then. I don't know if this is paint or not, to be honest, but whatever they used, I'm glad that this is not that bad out here. That's gonna fender strut or horn areas or whatever you call them. So we're going to go ahead and get some of these wires off that we can. Basically stuff that was going to those bags. It looks like most of this stuff, most of this is just going to unplug since somebody used these connectors, which I'm not Just like butt connectors, I'm not big on these, but it does make it easy to disconnect them. And look at that right there. There's a cut wire. So this is an example right here. This is why you want to try to zip tie stuff and also put loom over it if you can, because that right there is cut. Now this would be for a turn signal, I'm guessing, or maybe a brake light. So I don't think somebody would want to lose their brake light on the rear, but just shows you when you kind of just throw stuff together, that can happen. This ground right here is just, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get this with this. Nope. Reinforcements. Look at that, all connectors. Wow, I actually got this all off without cutting a single wire. Wow, that's got a connector with a butt connector right up against it. That's pretty interesting. Oh, come on. Oh. Yeah, well, reinforcements. There. Done. Good, we removed all this. That helps, and I can reuse this wire on something. Do what we can to clean this little spot up here. No, you won't see it, but it's gonna get cleaned up. Only the most high-end restoration. 100% restoration in progress. Down around this backbone, we're going to just remove all these zip ties because we are going to reloom all of this going through here. I just don't want this stuff. I mean, I guess I could just leave it, but I just don't like how it's not protected at all. And it'll let us clean everything too. I think that'll work for what we're trying to do. One of the reasons why I think this bike has got really some low miles on it, or low miles for its age, because we don't know the true history on it because of that aftermarket speedo, is because these tubes, these down tubes up here are just not that bad. And also these factory stickers on here are in outstanding shape. There are some tears on them where I think that's just where this clutch cable or maybe some other lines have hit them, but they're not that bad. There's not a whole lot of wear. This area is actually looking pretty dang decent. That's good. That's going to make this bike look pretty good when we're done with it. We will polish all this up. Sides more the same. Yeah, the only spots up here that you've got anything missing, as you can tell, or paint missing or anything like that, or any wear, is just where stuff has been up against it. Just for reference, the bike that I finished before this, which some of you probably saw, that '08 Sportster, its down tubes and front end was much worse than this one. It only had 12,000 miles on it. I'm not saying that this is a very, very, very low mileage bike. I'm just saying. Just saying. This area right in here was absolutely covered in gunk. Let's see what we get here. Bet there's still some more down below that motor. And I will get underneath it, underneath the bike, especially when we get it off the jack. I'm not going to necessarily film that, but we're going to get everything we can. I might pull this one bolt out right here on the top of this stand, just because you look down and you see it. I know it seems weird, but when you get to as much of this stuff as you can, it all adds up to something, we'll just call it pretty good. There's so much gunk on the front of this motor, or actually on most of the case for that matter. It was hard to tell. You didn't even know how much paint was missing off of it. Got most of this off with the spring, but still. She's pretty bad. There. Look at all that paint missing. Crazy. But we got all that gunk off of there. That's good. This all turned out pretty darn good, if I can say so myself. It actually looks a lot better. Now, yeah, all the paint's missing. I got that. But, you know, she's old. She's an old motor. But it ain't dead yet. It's still running really good. But this was all just one color. It was the color grime. And I think once we start getting some polish on this frame and everything, and of course over here, of course get the kickstand back on and get it cleaned up, it's going to look pretty darn good. But I am pretty happy with that. And even down here, if I can get down here without hurting myself, that was definitely all one color. It was the color gross. That's what it was. Now it's just the color, well, it's the color missing paint and frame color. That's what it is now. But a lot better, a lot better. Hopefully our leak stopped. Hopefully my motor work actually did something, or else it's just going to leak right back down on it. So I still need to clean underneath, going down through here underneath the primary as well as the other side. I'm not going to really bore you guys with that. That's just more of the same of scrubbing, but that's about all we got left on this frame. I'm not going to really, I don't really scrub, I'm not going to really scrub this motor just because of the paint that's missing. I don't want any more to come off, and I think it's pretty darn clean as it is. So we're just going to hit some spots on it that make sense, and then from there, we'll go in and just start doing some polishing on stuff, and it's going to make it, I think it's going to make it look pretty darn good. So now we're going to try to work on this little guy right here. You can see how it's bent down. I mentioned it, I think, in the first episode where it must have taken a hit at some point. And you can see where this one's sticking out nice and straight. So I don't like that. I mean, I could leave it, I guess. I mean, you can still ride it, but that would just feel really awkward going down the road with one foot kind of drooping down a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to pull this little brake lever piece off here, the pedal off, I should say. Put a pipe on that and just see if I can lift it some. Surely it'll bend back a little bit, so we'll give it a shot. And then if you look at this pedal here, it is also bent in a little bit, and that's probably annoying if you try to ride it. And it's also in great shape, chrome-wise. You can see them. So I don't want to replace this stuff. So I'm going to put this one in the vise as well to see if I can maybe do something. But let's give it a shot and see if we can make an improvement. All right, good. Not overly tight. That is good news. So if you ever remove these, just so you know, the pin right here, the pin actually goes to the inside. And if you've got this all the way on there, you can't remove the pin all the way. It's a safety. That's why this piece of metal hangs down. At least I think that's why it is, because it won't let you. But all you do is just slide it off enough and freeze it. And you should be able to pop her right off, just like that. So this might be a giant waste of time, but at least we'll get the brake pedal area all cleaned up. So I think we made some pretty dang good progress here. Not bad for like, what, 20 minutes of work. I'll show you this right here. So put our little level on there. You can see it's pretty much in the middle, which is quite remarkable considering these bikes don't always sit level on these jacks. That's the good side. And this one is also in the middle. Close enough. So this one is still sticking forward just a little bit, but not by much. And I can live with that because I don't want to just start tweaking everything like crazy to get it perfect. I'm afraid I'm going to crack something or ruin the integrity of this mount, you know, and it become a problem later on down the road. The actual pedal part is still bent in, both on the pedal itself and also this mount, but it still works. And it doesn't look horrible. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to test on it whenever we get the bike together so I can at least sit on it and try it, and I'll go from there. Because probably what it needs is just a new pedal. I mean, let's be honest. This piece could use a replacing too, but I think it's going to be fine. But you know what? Like I said, 20 minutes of work and we got it that straight. I think that's a pretty good win. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this piece off. That way I can clean all that up good since it's already off the bike for the most part, you know, other than the last little parts. And where we remove this control here, or the forward control for the brake, you can see where we really were able to get in here pretty darn good. And the finish, you know, and the finish on this frame, even though it's covered in gunk, really is pretty nice. Even right here where this mounts to the, I guess we'll call it the brake pedal for the master cylinder, even hit this with some steel wool and some Scotch pad. Don't have to, but you know what, just like fasteners, it's going to make it look pretty good. And down here, this just kind of gives you a sampling of what we're dealing with. It doesn't look as bad on camera, but these chunks are like this. I mean, it's gross. Don't get this stuff on carpet or concrete. It's just you're never gonna get that stuff up. And that was just literally just sitting right up in here. And that just shows you this whole bike was covered like this. Underneath it, also on the parts on the bottom, is just pretty gunky, pretty gross, but it's coming around. Let's see how some simple polish makes this frame look nice to actually be trying to put a little shine on something. Kind of makes me nervous, actually. And we will go back and hit all the chrome later. I'll actually do that whenever the bike's pretty much done. This is what you call the unnecessary part to polish. If you do this, I do recommend using an old, a rag that you trust. Don't use one with dirt on it, but don't use a nice applicator that you would use on your car. I'll be glad to get all these wires cleaned up. Might actually work through these wires a little sooner than I thought. Just to go ahead and get them loomed up. These are going to have nothing to do with the handlebars. Be nice to kind of get this all straightened up. See how this looks on camera. You guys can see, oh yeah, lots better, much better. Not perfect, not unless you stripped it down and powder coated the entire frame, but we ain't gonna do that. Not doing that. I do think this swing arm is going to look pretty good. All this unnecessary to polish area is looking good. That makes me feel better to do it. Well, I think our frame came out pretty darn good. Start back here and look. Of course, if you remember this area down here where the shocks were, it was just covered in oil and grime. Nice to get that all cleaned up. Now, she's not a show bike. Not supposed to be. We're just trying to make it look a little better. That's what we're going for. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Can't wait to get all these wires straightened up. It's driving me bananas. I'm telling you, it's driving me nuts. All this, that down in there looks great. That was all, as I've said before, one color before. So, we at least got all that off of there. Over on this side actually is easier to see because I got the lighting's just a little bit better. Look at that. You can really see the color on that frame. Looking good, looking good. And then back here. We haven't even gotten to the chrome yet. Once we get to the chrome, it's going to make quite the difference. I am happy with how these came out because we are not going to be putting the long chrome covers back on. So more to come on that when we work on the fender. But overall, very happy with that. Frame turned out outstanding. So for these fasteners that are going back on the bike, and I do this with pretty much all of them, to be honest, depending on where they're at, how you see them and all that, depends on how much I'll get into polishing them up and all that. But for example, these are the two fasteners for the axle adjusters. And you can actually see the one on the left is a little bit shinier. So I took this one to the point of doing a Scotch pad, steel wool, and did some polish on it. And what it does is it really kind of brings it out. And when you have it on the bike, it just looks nice. Also, both of these bolts, this one included, even though I haven't polished it up yet, were soaked in vinegar, white vinegar all night. And what that does, it doesn't always get rid of all the rust, but it gets rid of most of it. And you can see here, there's still a little bit of rust in there, but it's not too bad. But it also gets all that gunk out of there good. So for example, this right here, this nut that's freely spinning, you couldn't do that when I took it off the bike. So it really helps. So like if you've got a tub and you just want to throw everything in there and you're working on a project, go for it. Now, the vinegar will get it a little dark. So like this one, even though it cleaned it, it did darken the head of the bolt up a little bit. But again, I'll just polish that off. Not a big deal. Here's part of the axle adjuster, the part that goes around the actual axle. And you can see that's been polished up. So that'll actually sit on there just like that. And if you remember, this was all covered up before. So you had that little goofy cover on there, which you guys know I can't stand. So I like it. I like taking that stuff off because it kind of lets this natural stuff show. Just my thoughts. That's all. And then here is the one of the other, or the other axle adjuster piece that I haven't cleaned yet. So we'll get that going, but you can just see that for reference. Put these beside each other. Not too bad, not too bad. Again, not perfect. I mean, it's not like chrome, but it definitely makes a difference. Did the same here for this brake. So you got that bolt cleaned up, as well as this one right here for the forward control mount. Do you need to? No, but it really makes a difference. Just like what we did with that frame, just like we did with the polishing up that frame, makes a big difference. So we moved on to the fork seals on this bike, and this is something that we've got to replace. This is actually the one that's leaking. This one ironically was not, but this is the one that's apart. But you want to go ahead and replace both of them. My plan was just to do this one completely off camera. You can see I've already got it apart. There's the slider down there. And then do this one on camera, because you don't need to see me doing both of them. At least I don't think you want to. But here's the problem. We've been bitten again, bitten by the cross thread problem, or the stripped bolt head problem, whatever you want to call it. So here's what I think happened. Somebody was running the 6mm. There's a little 6mm Allen screw that goes right up through here. It connects the slider. Many of you probably are familiar with that. And there's a couple ways you can get to them. I've seen many different methods to get them loose. I like to use a small impact. A lot of people don't, but it's always worked for me. But when I put my socket up there, I immediately noticed it was turning. It wasn't turning in the head, but it was very loose. So I knew, well, crap, there's no way that's going to come out. And when I did hit with the impact, it just spun inside of it. So what I think somebody did is they took a ratchet, this is just my theory, or an Allen key, and they just cranked the crap out of them, because they're both, this one was very, very tight. And then not only did they over tighten them, but then they actually wallered out the head of the bolt. So, well, crap. So the only option there is to drill it. So over here, here's the remnants of the bolt right here. You can see this is the part we took out of the, that was left in it, that's got the threads. And then here's the head of the bolt. I probably could have used a little bit smaller drill bit, but it did good. It didn't leave any damage, which is outstanding. And then there's the washer that was there. So we went just down to the point where we were hitting the washer and was able to pop it out. So that's unfortunate. That stinks. I did get some more bolts from the local Harley dealer, so that's good. We'll get those on there. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this other fork leg back together that we have apart. When we're done with that, we will rejoin you guys, and we're going to have the other fork leg up here on the workbench in the vise so we can start drilling it out. This thing off of here. There we go. Oh, this one's coming out good. Nice. Well, as much as I hate to do this, let's start doing some drilling. Of course, the nice thing is this side's actually easier to get to. Just slow and control's the idea. If you ever do this, when you drill, you just want to make sure whenever you hit the copper washer, you stop. Because if you keep drilling through, you're going to mess up this fork slider. I don't think anybody wants to do that. And I like to step up the bigger bits as I go. I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to get the best lighting and everything possible. But if you look at the top of the bolt, you can see where a little bit of that copper washer is starting to show. That means we're at the bottom. So at this point, you want to be very careful, because if you pop through that, you've got the slider underneath it, and you don't want to drill through the slider, or you'll be replacing the slider. So now we're just going to hit it with a drill, hopefully just a few more times, and this thing will pop free. There it is, right there. Oh, there it goes. Fell down on the ground. You guys can see that. Fell right out, just like that. Perfect. So now we should be able to pull these apart and finish them up and get them back together. I threw this fork leg back on the bike. It just kind of makes it easier to get this seal off. I'll pop this guy out first. There we go. And then this should just press right off. Is it coming? Sort of is. Well, this one's on there. There it is. Perfect. There we go. That is it. And that seal, wow, it looks like that seal was actually installed upside down, I do believe. I do think so. Oh well, it's going to be replaced anyway. No worries. Yeah, no damage done on this whatsoever. This looks great. Again, we drilled it out with no damage. Didn't even put a scratch on it. There we are. Let's see here. Yeah, it was installed upside down, but I think it's probably, I don't know if that's what was causing it to leak. Who knows? And then this guy right here, this should, yep, it's just going to thread on out. What's left of that bolt. Threads are perfectly fine. Slider's perfectly fine. It's going to be all right. Okay, just cut it off. That's all we did. Everything all cleaned up. I'm just going to get her back together and we can get this fork seal driven on this thing. There we are. And I'm going to go ahead and just get this bolt down here just started. They do make fork seal drivers for these that make the job pretty easy. If you're dealing with 39mm forks, these are 41. You can actually take, I think it's an 1.5" piece of PVC, and it'll literally fit over this perfectly and drive these things back in just as easy as a fork seal tool was. I don't have that for this one. I just have this piece of PVC that's cut down. It's got a little notch. This is the wrong way to do this. So if you are a stickler to the rules, if you're a stickler to doing things the right way, you might want to fast forward through this part or just close your eyes. But all I'm going to do is I got this little, you see I got it notched right there. I'm just going to take this and just, I got it started with my hands and I'm just going to ease around it. It does take longer, but it will work. I've done this plenty of times. All you want to do when you press these in is you want to get them past that little slot that's in there so you can get that retaining clip in there. Once you get that clip in, you're done. I think that's about it. I think that might do it. Let's see. There's a clip on here. Be careful, don't scratch your fork legs because that seal, you don't want that seal to ride up on that any kind of bad spots and cause it to tear. Let's see here. Oh yeah, clicked right in. And just like that, got our fork seal in. That is it. I'm just going to throw this on the bike for now. And these fork seals are now done. Yes, this looks odd right here. I'm actually going to try to do a little touch-up paint on the bike, on the motor. This is some of the textured black. It's actually the Harley stuff. So in theory, it should be the right stuff. Now, I guarantee you, this is probably going to go on a little bit darker than what's there simply because the other stuff's old. So I'm just going to start with these areas up top, do this part of the head and the other one and see how it looks. If it looks great, we'll move on. You can also, another trick you can do is you can spray paint some of this in a cap. Take your little brush and just kind of, you know, brush it on like that. But for these spots, I want to really try to get it pretty even. So we'll see what we get. Hopefully it'll turn out pretty good. We will find out. Oh, this stuff goes on good. Now I'm just going to take a rag here and try to get these fins cleaned off. And if you can't get all the paint off when you do this, you can come back and hit it with a Scotch pad. Later on, they'll take it right off. Steel wool will do it too. Just try to get the excess off now. I'll hit it with, I can already feel where it's already starting to dry. It's okay. Like I said, we'll hit it with some stuff later. I think this is doing pretty good. Boy, that is drying already. Man, this stuff don't mess around. And I don't want to put like any lacquer thinner or anything like that or acetone on this because I don't want any of it getting down on the stuff that I just sprayed. So I will go back over this later as well. We got most of it off though. Not too bad. Actually, I do have this tiny piece of a Scotch pad here. Let's see how this does. Okay, let's see how this looks right here. Boy, I got every dang rag in the world on top of this thing. All right. I think that is going to look fantastic. Mighty good. And the same thing with chrome. If you get any paint on your chrome, paint will come right off chrome. Just use your little acetone. It'll come right off. And then just polish it back up. Dang, that looks great. Now I want to paint everything on the dang engine. That's what I get for doing it. Let's give this side a whirl. This is probably hard to see with all these white sheets and rags in the way. I'll do the best we can. Get the majority of this off. Again, we'll get this with a Scotch pad. Get the last bits. It does take a little time, but man, it makes it look good. Not too bad. I'm liking this. Of course, you know, the problem now is that everything else that's now bad is going to look really crappy. Because there's really, I don't think I'm going to be able to do much with the case, but at least this will get the top end looking a little better. Just a little. The other side is going to be a real challenge, though. Other side of the head, that is. All right. That's as much as I can get with that. We'll get the rest. Like I said, we'll get the rest with a Scotch pad. Pretty good. Also put this little guy right here. Tiny piece of tape there on the bottom. That's where the rocker box actually meets the head. So we don't get any overspray. Well, that came out very nice. Get down here and look at it. Got the fins cleaned up. Took like maybe 30 seconds. I just put some cleaner on like I said, a Scotch pad. Came right off. Much, much better. And it looks like the shading of black is about the same. I thought it would be darker, but nah, it looks great. Of course, we'll just pretend we don't see all the missing paint down here on the case and the transmission. Not sure if I'm going to do anything with that, but definitely wanted to get up here on the top where your eyes kind of go. Now I'm going to give this side a whirl. Most of this is just going to be prep work, which is going to be the hardest part. There will be quite a bit more to paint over here, but if I can just get these all covered up and all that, it'll be great. But I'm going to get this prepped up off camera because it's going to take me quite a while, and then we're just going to give it a shot and see what we can do with it. All right, let's see if we can make this side look a little bit better. Got it all taped up, covered up. This one's definitely going to take more work to get this paint off these fins. Let me see if we can get a little bit of... Oh yeah, that's actually coming off pretty good. Right when I say that. We're going to have to scrub it though. I thought about using some small tape that I got to put on these, but I think this is just easier. Just get the bulk of it off now. See, it's already drying. Oh, don't get on the fresh paint. I probably should wait till this is all dried. I got this tape on there a little too hard. Or stuck there a little too hard. Oh yeah. Perfect. No overspray. If this paint keeps turning out good, it's going to make me want to paint more, which I don't want to do. I'm not a painter. I don't really necessarily like painting, but this engine paint's doing pretty good. Another thing you can use on the end of these fins is you can take a piece of sandpaper to them. Get these covers off here. Always the best part of painting, because you're done painting. Because I hate painting. You can see the left cylinder over, or the front cylinder I should say, over here where it's been cleaned off. So all we're going to do, this is just a tiny little piece of a Scotch pad. And see if I can show some of this on film. It's going to be nice and gentle with it. Now I'm hitting it with another. This is actually a kind of a finer Scotch pad, or what's left of a purple one. And this one has no cleaner on it, so I'm kind of using it as a rag almost, just to get that stuff off of there. And all I'm using on the Scotch pad that I'm scrubbing it with, this one's just a little simple green on it. You can use like lacquer thinner, acetone, stuff like that. The only reason I'm not doing that is this paint's still pretty tacky. I don't want anything on there that's just going to immediately take the paint off. These little bitty spots up here. And I think we're about done with these fins. Really hope this paint lasts. I did prep everything, sanded it a little bit as much as I could, and used some, I can't remember, I think I used acetone just to clean it off, which works good. Hope it lasts for whoever ends up getting this bike. I think it will though. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Me, this is what's really going to be telling. Now I didn't get paint all the way down in there, so you're still going to see, you will still see a little bit of missed spots down on this edge. That's okay. Not where the bolt sits flush, but just the edge. Oh, that looks great. I don't know if that shows up good on camera, but man. Oh, wonderful. Now I'm afraid to touch this motor with anything. It looks too dang nice. All right. Dang. I impressed myself with that. Really kind of hard to argue with these results. I mean, it's looking pretty dang snazzy. Look at them bolts in there, how clean they are. Look at that intake, how it looks up against everything. Almost looks too nice for this bike, but I definitely like it. Well, this has escalated rather quickly. I started out saying we weren't going to really do any kind of touch up or paint on this engine yet. Here we are. I do think this is gonna look pretty good. At least I hope so. Oh yeah. The cool thing about this chrome is if you get any overspray on it, that'll easily come off chrome. I'm sure there's probably a few spots. Man, it looks so much better. Now I'm going to have to paint the rest of the dang motor. I'll keep doing this. Oh yeah, that looks great. Over here. Yeah, that's remarkably better. In there, all that side. Still got a little tackiness to the paint right there, but my gosh, that's a lot better. Not brand new, but I will take it. Well, I think we're going to call this one a wrap right here on this episode. We got our frame all cleaned up. You can see we got some of our bolts down here polished. That's good. We'll continue to do that. Up here, I actually got the gas tank bolts. Not necessary, but they look a lot better, those down there. That way, whenever you see them, at least they'll look nice and clean. The frame, for the most part, turned out really good. Of course, we got our fork seals done after our little dilemma of having to drill them out. It's okay. And of course, our engine paint, that just looks, I mean, we just did that, but it just looks so much better. It's too nice, just too nice for this bike, but I'm starting to like it. It's growing on me. Using the motor paint is growing on me. So for next steps, I think what we're going to do is we're going to continue a little bit of the engine paint. Let me show you why. So that looks great. We know that. We've already established that fact. But you come over here, and now this looks like garbage, and this looks bad. Now that's pretty easy to paint. That won't be a problem. Of course, that'll be covered up mostly by the oil tank, but I'm going to try something there. So I think we're going to start next time with this, maybe try to do some touch up on this if I can with the spray. From there, need to get this check ball replaced down here in the oil pump, and then we're going to start going with the oil tank and lines, and maybe from there we'll start getting into wiring and stuff like that. We're kind of working our way inside out. At least that's the idea. But the bike is definitely coming together. I'm liking it. It's actually starting to look a little bit better. So far, so good. Well, ladies and gents, it really is nice to see this bike starting to clean up and look a little bit better. And that engine paint looks so nice, it's actually starting to scare me a little bit. So I guess now I've signed myself up to spray the other side of the motor. But we still have a lot more content to go and a lot of really cool things we're going to get into. So if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and you'll catch those future episodes. And as always, I thank you guys so much for watching. We'll chat with you next time.